Alright guys, welcome back. We are watching Koimonogatari episode 6, the finale of Hitagi, and this has been quite the arc, huh? A very unique arc, I think. I'll have some stuff to say about that probably at like the end of the discussion. I just want to talk about the arc, like the structure of it. I think there's some very interesting stuff. But last time, well, Kaiki, he's deceiving Nadeko. It doesn't it doesn't seem like it's going too well. So I think there's some stuff he needs to say to her that he also, in a way, needs to, like, say to himself, kinda. The closet, right? They both have a closet, kinda, in my mind. Um, Other than that, I mean, I don't know. We gotta see what's gonna happen. I guess I was gonna say, it's like, I feel like we know Keiki's gonna succeed, but I guess we don't. Like, he theoretically could fail. Um, there's no guarantees here, right? It's like I've been thinking this whole time, how is he gonna succeed? But what if he actually does fail? What if it's just a horrible, sad ending to the arc, right? Because it's not impossible. It's not impossible that So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where we would go from there if Kaiki doesn't succeed. But who knows? Who knows? So we're watching episode 6 of Koimonogatari. You can line your own copy up with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Took the utmost precautions, and yet... Yeah. Right. Right. And that's so interesting. Nothing to deceive in the first place. Because she trusts no one, right? Ooh. Do you understand the problems of her heart, though? Ooh, it was a soul made of shadows. Nothing but an enormous fool, I got that. Oh god. I don't like that at all. Everyone does nothing but lie. Oh man. Yeah, she's pretty powerful, huh? Ooh. The red dress now? Hmm. Beautiful. So I thought. Yeah, we've got a lot of thinking to do, huh? It's funny, we've had a whole month to be ready for this, and it comes down to right now he has to think. Like, oh god. Oh, I'm gonna miss this opening so much. Hmm. Because here's the thing about Nautica. Here's the thing about Nautico. Her problem is complicated. She's not in any means a shallow character. But there are... I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's too complicated. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like the I don't know how Kaiki can solve her problem for her when it feels like the problem she has is something that is quite simple in a sense, like in terms of like the solution to it is kind of obvious in terms of just like I stop doing that. But like she's so deep into it. She's so far gone. I don't know how Kaiki, when the answer is so clear, what she could do to fix her problem. But yet she still hasn't done it after all this time. What do you do? So full of lies. Ooh, he sure is. Oh, and so is she, right? Yeah, yeah. She is quite the liar. But I guess the question is, what is she really lying? Or is it either of them lying? I don't know. I don't know. Ooh. Sure. Ooh. Shinjagahara? At the end of a Tori. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, no. I can't tell if this is like an act still or not. Right, right. Um, depends on the way you look at it, I think. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's like such a... Yeah, it's such a corruption of that kind of like... Ooh. It's like this toxic, acceptance, I suppose, right? How did she get that idea in her head, you know? Like... Nothing's really changed, right? Sure, yeah, yeah, it's like she's just fitting another role, yeah. But that's not what she cares about, right? That isn't actually... I don't really think that's the core of the issue, in a way, right? Ooh. Oh, Senjukahara, with the crab. Yeah, yeah. I don't think this is gonna get through to her at all. Yeah, look at her, she's like bored, she doesn't care. Of course, it's very interesting that Kaiki understands Senjukahara and views her in this way. Ah, is that really how you view it? They'd never sink. Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Interesting. Yeah, that is not gonna work. I kind of society at large, I guess you could say. Oh, it's Ogi's fault. Oh, oh, yeah, Kaiki doesn't know anything about Ogi. Sure, sure. Ogi orchestrated the, like, literal situation we're in now. Yes, yes. Hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah. Sure. I guess I took that line, like, in a broader sense. But maybe that's interesting, thinking about what Ogi, like, is, right? Can't do anything to resist myself. Oh, God. I suppose. Oh, God. Oh, God. Hmm. Yeah, great. How awesome. How nice. How nice. But she has to, right? She's a vengeful god. That's what she's supposed to do. Yeah, yeah. I well, you're a little bit late on that one, unfortunately. But she has to. Yeah. Oh, Kanbaru. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, that's for Kaiki. Did she say that? I certainly believe that. I Does she? Okay. Oh, no, this is it, right? This has to be it. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. What are we doing? No, okay, okay. So then what was in the closet then? Just like, okay, 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 okay. I, Right. Like, that certainly got to her, huh? You peeked, yeah, 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 yeah. The closet, the closet. How useful money is, huh? Oh, exactly, exactly. Oh, God. Like, it's... Oh. No, it's actually so great. Oh, just a bunch of, like, sketchbooks. Oh my God, that's so perfect. Oh, I love that so much. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, God. No, it's so perfect, though. She's, like, instantly herself, you know? It broke it completely. I give her some advice. They come on. Yeah, 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 yeah. There we go. There we go. I remember Kaiki was doing some drawing with his plans. Yeah, right? Insane. The switch up, right? Sure. Yeah, yeah. You won't be able to hide it forever. No matter how much you try and bury yourself, right? Uh, maybe. I don't know if that's... Well, maybe that's enough. Is it really foolish, though, you know? What makes it foolish, right? Yeah, yeah. Ooh. No one knows anything about you, right? Hide it from everyone. Just like Kaiki, in a way, right? Oh, your true dream. Yeah, sure. Just like the boredom by itself, right? Yeah, not like being a god was gonna be a good thing, obviously. But she wants to reject it, right? She doesn't want to... Will she engage with it at all? Will she say anything? Oh, okay. Yeah, just try and minimize it and distance herself from it completely. Oh, embarrassing. Sure, yeah, yeah. Dreams are embarrassing. That feels so meaningful for Kaiki, too. God, and it's such a... Like, a creative process like this is so perfect for it being the thing that she, you know, that she hides. Oh, you have to work for it, right? Sure, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're a god, if you throw away your humanity, because that's what it's all about. Any kind of creative process like that, right? For him, for him, money is like something he uses to separate himself in a way from like this human connection, right? Yeah, yeah. Interesting. because of loss he's experienced, perhaps, right? God. And it's like, as far as we know, all that we know about her, right? It's like that would be what you think, you know? Sure, right. Yeah, some idiot out there. Oh, some other sluggish thing. Oh. No, clearly not, right? No matter how much she tries to distance herself from it for her whole life. Of course not, right? Araragi was like the excuse that she used, right? I think he knows a lot. I think he's very much applying his own experiences here, right? Yeah, she hasn't let anyone know about herself. Oh. Yeah. It's like, if you're not willing to do it, no one's going to do it for you, right? Of course. Because you're human. Right. Nothing's irreplaceable. Ooh. Oh. Oh my god. That's so the perfect. But you won't be happy like that. Oh my god. Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god. Pretend that you were deceived and try it out as a challenge. God, that was so perfect. Oh my god. I have to I'm gonna have to watch that scene again for sure. God, everything that Kaiki said was so. Oh. Right, right. Oh my god. Oh god. Araragi, what's up, man? Ooh. I just immediately goes into lying. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Although, maybe not exactly. Oh god, I feel like I need to like take a break after that scene, but I can't. Oh. Yeah. Slug. Namekuji. Right, right. Nisemona, of course. Slippery lifestyle of a slug. What does that mean exactly? Told her the obvious, right? Yeah, yeah. Just such obvious things, right? Sure, yeah, but he had the right, right. God, it just feels so bittersweet coming from Kaiki because of the way he is, you know? Obvious things that adults tell children. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, ooh. Nothing he can do for Sengoku. Can he accept that, though, you know? Oh. Oh, the talisman. Right, right. Oh, and she's back. Oh, her bang's still all fucked up from Atori. Right, right. Yeah. So someone's still gonna have to be a god on the shrine at some point, right? It's not resolved. Oh, he just gives it to him, just walks. Oh, he just seems so... Man. Sure, sure. I guess he... yeah, yeah, I guess the job's done. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Oh, man. No part in her life until the day you die. Is that really how it has to be? Maybe so. Maybe so, right? That feels so... Oh. Oh, yeah. Haragi just seems so, like, pathetic right now, you know? Compared to Kaiki. Right, right. Kaiki would know, I'm sure. I mean, of course Kaiki would view it that way, right? I wonder if that is how it has to be, but... Hmm... Repaying that old favor. It's not like that. Sure. And hopefully, that leads you to happiness. As long as you keep living. Yeah, as long as she's a human. As long as she's not a god. Right? Oh my god. What a good scene. Man. Oh, talking to Sindrugahara. Yeah, yeah. Oh, he still thanks him. Yeah. Oh, the Endo da. Ooh, right. Like I freaking care. Interesting. To keep him around, maybe? Right? Who knows, though? Who knows? Be careful of bad women. Huh, huh. Oh, of the oh, okay. Oh, I literally completely forgot that happened. Right, right. Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay. No, yeah, she fits all of the like the qualifications for that. Of course, of course. Oh, all of the dead like fallen trees. Oh, that felt so meaningful. Him crushing the it's like crushing the final connection between him and Sindrugahara, right? It's the end. Hitagi end. Oh, right, right. Exactly, exactly. And what does that mean for you? A very good question. A very good question. Where is he? Is he doing things behind the scenes that we don't know about? Being the negotiator? Oh! Okay. Right. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh, Oki. Who are you? We don't know this voice at all, right? I mean, it's a boy. Oh. Oh, an Ogi. Interesting. Oh. Oh, is this from all the way back in Nautico Snake? Yeah, yeah, the root of all evil. I don't know if I would put it that way. Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. Or was it Ogi? Judge with a bloodied head. Ogi. 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 Oh, yeah. Huh. Wow. Okay. Right. Right. No ending, huh? Okay. 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 Right. No, go visit her. Come on. Nanako needs some friends. Okay. Okay. Who's it gonna be? Oh, right, because this is like the we watch Hana in the like novel order. Right. Yeah. I wish I could watch Hana again. I wish there was a Hana 2. Um, okay, that was an insanely good episode. I'm gonna have to like watch that scene again. Like, it's like I don't know. We'll talk about it in the discussion. All right, let's talk about the episode. I've been sitting here for like 30 minutes trying to wrap my head around everything and decide what I even want to say. The problem is, it feels like on the face of it that the message of all of this should be pretty simple, and I guess it is. I suppose, as Kaiki says, it's the obvious in a sense, right? Um, but I feel like the author is trolling me, like I commonly do at times, in the sense of like, on the face of it, this arc does have a simple message that I think is very good and makes a lot of sense. And I think if you just view it in that way, you get a lot out of it. I understand why the vibe I've gotten about this arc is that it's a lot of people's like favorite arc, that they like it a lot. It's been an incredibly good arc. I feel like at the same time, there is this layer, there are layers of complexity to this, and it's all Kaiki's fault. It's all Kaiki's fault. There are layers of complexity to everything that Kaiki says in this whole thing to Nadeko that it is very difficult to wrap my head around. Um, but I guess that's just how it is. I feel like that is entirely what the author's intention is behind this arc. Like for sure. That's the intention behind Kaiki as a character in general, right? He's meant to be a very enigmatic character. He is meant to be difficult to fully understand. And I think that's how it's always going to be, considering it seems like this is, feels like his exit from the story in a way, right? The way he walks off. Who knows? It is called Hitagi End. Sindra really is like the last connection he's even had to all of these characters, so I wonder when we will ever see him again. Either way, enough like whining from me. We're just gonna get into it, I guess. Um, God, where do I even start? Should I just start at the beginning? I suppose, right? He thinks at the beginning here that his work was perfect, right? Yeah, my work was perfect. I'm quite confident I can say that. Knowing that any blunder could easily spell the end, I ascended the steps to this shrine, and for this very day, I took utmost precautions. So I think the important part of the beginning here is to understand that this isn't all some grid or plan from Kaiki. He genuinely thought this would work. He genuinely thought, of course, that he was going to be able to deceive Naruto like this, which I think is an important context considering all of the things he says to her in a moment, right? In this long, the entire episode is just him talking to her, right, telling her the obvious, as he says. And the reason I think that's important is because something he emphasizes so much in his conversation with Nadeko is telling her that it's she could be happy as a god, but he says all this stuff about how, the true goal of life isn't just to be happy, right? I guess what I take from it in a way is what Nadeko was pursuing in becoming a god is something that would make her happier, right? Because it is so difficult for her to accept herself as a person and be a genuine, real human being, right? So of course it would be happier. It would be so much easier for her to be a god, right? Um, and what's interesting about that is that was Kaiki's plan. And again, it's you could take this in a completely different context as me and think the author's been trolling me the whole time, and Kaiki was trolling me, and he actually knew this was all going to happen, and that blah 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 blah. I'm not taking it that way. I think Kaiki genuinely, as it says right before the opening, he had to think, right, genuinely this wasn't what he thought was going to happen. So despite what he's been saying the whole time about how his plan is to just leave Nautico as a god, that she's happy that way, right? Which I think is an interesting insight into the way he views himself as well. Um, he ends up arguing against the idea of her being a god, right? It's almost like he viewed Nadeko as a child, right? The same way we have been talking about him viewing Hanakawa as a child, Shinjukuhara as a child, all of this, right? Because he views these characters as children, it's like he believes that the easier answer for all of them would be to view the world in this black and white way, him as a villain, right? That is in the same vein as it. And just chase being a god, or for Nautica, or just it's easier to pursue what just makes you happy rather than the difficult process of pursuing your dream, pursuing your wish, right? It's I think the same way he's viewed Shinjukuhara as this fragile person who it's the idea of her changing is so shocking to him, right? Um I think he viewed Nautica in a similar way. He did not think she would be able to he didn't think she'd be able to do the things that he's telling her, the advice that he gives her here, right? The reason why he wanted her to stay as a god, he thought that would be the best answer for her, is because of his way of viewing her as just a child in all of this. He thought she wouldn't be able to do it. It's the harder way to approach the problem, right? Which is very interesting. It makes you wonder how he views himself, right? It's the question is how does he think he falls on this on this spectrum, this idea of pursuing what you truly want, or not, I guess, right? It's very difficult to say. Again, it's just Kaiki is just such an enigmatic character, and I just feel like everyone who watches this is going to have a different view of him in a sense. It's obviously what he says to Kanbaru and Hana is very important. His whole thing about how, no one's two-dimensional, no one's just purely good or purely evil. It's this idea of people's capacity to not really to change, of course that is part of it, but also to be someone different than who they than your actions might lead you to think that they are. I think that's very relevant both in the message of everything he tells Naruto here. It's this very positive message of being able to change, right? And never, nothing ever being over, right? Your life never really being over for any reason. You can always start over, right? But also the way that we literally view Kaiki in the story, obviously, right? It's so hard to wrap your head around him. I don't know, right? So he thinks about and yet, yeah. She so easily saw through his lies because she never trusted me one bit to begin with, right? And that's very interesting because that's so against the way that he tries to act with other people, right? In a way, because it's like he has betrayed so many people's trust, like Sindrugahara, like all the kids but that he was scamming. It's almost like his whole all of his scamming and everything, his deception. Of course, that all works off the basis of the other person, like almost by default, trusting him, right? And Naruto's not like that. Of course she isn't. Her whole thing comes from this very negative view of other people, right? There was nothing to deceive in the first place, right? Yeah. With that in mind, you could say I was deceived by her. Exactly, exactly. But no, I should have put more emphasis on the problems of her heart, which I suppose is what he does, right? I was thinking in the moment, does he have any idea what the problems in her heart are? And I guess he does because of the closet, right? Of course, right? I didn't think this girl had closed her heart to this extent. I know, I know. It wasn't a shadow within a soul, it was a soul made of shadows. She snubs everyone. I was convinced I could create some amount of trust. With Cat's Cradle, donations, and sake, I thought I'd won Sengoku Naruto's trust. I was nothing but an enormous fool. You liar. Naruto says all this stuff about everyone lying all the time, which is it's very interesting. I feel like it definitely is in the same vein as everything that she was yelling at her classmates about, in Otori, right? Like it's hard for me to understand what she means exactly, though, by saying everyone, like, lies, right? Um, she certainly, her whole thing is about, like, people being, her whole thing is she's scared of being genuine, um, in a sense, because of that embarrassment, right? That's what we talk about here. The embarrassment that makes you feel, right? She doesn't want to experience that feeling, essentially, as like shallow as that sounds in a way. That's what it all comes down to, right? Um, but she says everyone else is the way. Everyone else is lying, right? It's hard for me to understand exactly what she means by that. That everyone else is the liar rather than her. God, her her powers are scary, huh? Beautiful. So I thought. He's really got to do a lot of thinking. It's very funny how he had this whole month to prepare all of this time, and it all comes down to it the very last second. He just has to think. He has to decide what he's going to do. But I guess it was obvious, right? Again, it's like, I mean, it's as he says. It's as he says at the end, right? To Araragi. All he did was tell her the obvious. It's obvious things that he himself has understood for so long. Again, it's like the question about Kaiki, of course, is if all of this stuff is obvious, has I guess it's just not easy. I guess that's the important thing, right? It's things that he has understood. Of course, it's things that he himself has understood. He's not dumb. It's not, it's not like he's unaware of the way he is or anything, right? It's just something that's not easy to do. It's so hard to view life in this optimistic way that he tells her to. I do have some things to say about the stuff he tells her, in the sense of I feel like him saying that it's always possible to restart, that it's always possible to start over, you can always change what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's a very positive message. I feel like at the same time, it is interesting coming from Kaiki when he is someone who is clearly so damaged by his past in a way, right? Like, I mean, again, it's like, how many times ever reference back to it? What he said to Sindrugahara in Nisei at the end of Karen B, right? That there's no point in overcoming your past, blah blah blah. I guess you could take that line in a more like in a better light, in a more optimistic light, in the sense of you shouldn't let your past control you. There's no point in overcoming it because you shouldn't let it control you in the first place, right? You can always start over, you can always change, blah blah blah, right? I guess just my issue, I suppose, with everything that he says to her here, especially coming from him, is you can't like run from your past though, right? The past is always going to affect you and change you as a person. Any experiences you go through, everything like that, right? Um, so it is probably a good way to view the world in general. The idea that of course it's never over, that you can always change as a person, you can always start over. It's not like you're ever done, right? Um, but coming from him, it's just like it feels like it's so much in the vein of like not wanting to address things, right? It's almost like escapism, almost like avoidance. Um Again, it's like we don't know what happened to Kaiki. We don't really know why Kaiki is like this, other than this vague sense of bitterness about whatever happened in the past with Gentoe and all of that stuff, right? Um, it's like I want to say, based off his conversation with Kanbaru and Hana, that it is more simple of a situation than it may seem. That it really is just like he was heartbroken in some way, right? Something like that, you know. Um, and it's certainly not bad to think that he himself can move on from that, of course, right? But it's just seeing the way that Kaiki is now, it's hard to have a fully positive view on it, right? It almost feels like naive in a way, but at the same time, it's certainly not a bad way to view the world. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Everyone is full of lies. You really are a liar. Hmm. Make it sound like you've never told one lie in your entire life. Because yeah, because it's like you certainly can't imagine Nautico as having lied this whole time. The problem with everything Kaiki says in this first, I don't know, few minutes here, is none of it gets through the Nautico at all. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about any of this, right? Like it's impossible for you to grant the wishes of someone else. You only think for yourself. You only trust yourself. Did becoming a god give you the false idea that you were someone special? She literally ignores everything he said. She just doesn't care. She doesn't care at all, right? It's gonna be so hard. It would be impossible to get through to her, like attacking her issue in that way at all, right? That's just not you. You have to actually talk to the real Nautico. You have to in some way get through to the real Nautico, right? It's like I didn't say anything at all. She lives in her own world, which it's interesting because it's like the reason why she lives in her own world is like it's sad, right? Obviously Nautico is a pretty like sad character, right? The reason why she's like this. It's she's scared to interact with other people essentially because of like like it's this whole combination of like rejection, and it's like opening yourself up in a way if you're being like your real genuine self, you know. So it's this rejection of other people, but it's also a rejection of like herself as essentially, right? It's like what she says in a moment here, you know. She said she had cute brats like me. Who said that? Was it Kiyomi or Nichan? It's like I feel like this is all just her acting stupid still. Like I don't know. It was Senjougahara. I just know. It sure was. It sure was. About that, what should I do? It's true that I'm a cute brat, but is any part of that really my fault? So this is so interesting. This is a very interesting line, a very interesting thing to think about. Because she essentially Nautico has been like beaten down in a way to act like this by like societal pressures outside of her control, right? Like it is very hard to fight against the kind of like society today has a very strong like issue with this where like people view being genuine or expressing like genuine interest in things as like cringe and like stupid, right? um it's like that kind of feeling, right? It's like if all you are is someone without any real interests, and or like at least you project other people view you essentially just the same way other people view her as nothing but a cute brat. If other people view you as someone without any interests, as such like a boring person, all of this, um because society like uh makes you feel embarrassed and cringes at you if you express any genuine interest in anything. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like actually such a stupid culture on like social media and stuff now. um is that your fault? I guess that's the question, right? Because yes, you can be a very strong person and like show your interests and be interested in things, and and like be a genuine person in that sense. You just have to be strong enough to I guess not care about the way other people perceive you, which is a really hard thing to do, you know. And I guess you can say it's like society and these societal pressures fault at large because they just shouldn't be like that. The problem with that is you can't change society. You can only change yourself, right? So I don't want to say it's Nautico's fault for being like this. Because really she just takes it to an extreme, I guess. I mean, obviously it's a story. She's meant to be a very extreme version of this. Um, she takes it to an extreme, I think a problem that everyone has on some level, right? I'm like just for an example, like I don't know, like watching anime, right? I mean, I bet there are people in your life that you probably don't tell if you're like a big anime fan that you love watching anime all the time, right? Or like Monogatari, right? Like this show, this story that has a bunch of like stupid shit in it that is hard to explain to people, like that's the kind of thing that I mean, right? It's something that you would probably be hesitant to share with other people in a way. Nadako just takes that to the extreme, right? It's not really her fault. It's not really your fault. But if you were like a perfect, strong, genuine person in every way, you would be able to like power through that, I suppose, is the idea, right? It's just that's a very hard thing to do, right? And I think that's part of why Kaiki is the way he is too, right? Like Kaiki is so clearly this damaged, like bitter person all the time, right? He very much withdraws himself from emotional connection and like trying to help other people in like a genuine way because of like the fear of being hurt himself, like he was in the past probably. Um and I don't think it's his fault that he acts like that, right? It's like, putting blame on anyone. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to do, right? We know Nautico again. It's like we know Nautico from her freak out in the classroom in Otori. We know the way she feels about it, right? She gets so mad at the world and other people for acting that way, right? Screaming at all her classmates for this exact thing, right? For the way that they perceive other people's emotions in this way, you know. I hate being like this as well, but this is who I am. This is me, so I can't do anything about it. Even if I feel like that, that's who I am, so I have to love myself. I have to love myself or I hate so much. It's like this horrible corruption of like positivity and like having self-esteem, you know? It's like if Hanekawa decided to reject the tiger and Black Hanakawa because like they shouldn't be part of her, you know, that she should just accept herself as she is without those parts of herself, you know. Um it's so it's so sad, right, to view it in that way. You know, it's this yeah. I guess it brings up the question of like who are you like really, right? Cuz there is a certain point. We've definitely brought this up before because Monogatari is so much about like self-identity and like who are you really, right? That's kind of the question of the story in general, right? Um who you are as a person is certainly defined in large part by your actions, right? And the way that you're acting, you know? It's like you can't say that the Nautico that we've known for so long is entirely fake because it's like if who you are is defined by your actions, then yes, that is her, right? Um, in a sense, that's kind of like where that's kind of what she's getting at here in a way, right? I guess it's just internally, there's always a version of yourself that can't exist fully externally, right? And that's kind of the other angle of Nautica's problem, right? Is just she's that taken to like an extreme, you know, where she hides away every actual genuine part of herself, you know, and she believes that those are things that she should bury, right? That she shouldn't, that she should love the way that she acts at all times, that she should love that version of herself, right? I need to become like a god so that I can love myself no matter how I am. And I guess again, for me, being a god is a representation of her like fully separating herself from like her humanity, from like whatever the real version of Nautico you imagine is, like in her head, right? Like buried deep down. Because even in her head, even when we were in her head in Otori, we know that even the way she thinks about herself, I guess through these lines as well, is so corrupted and so messed up, you know? Hmm. And Kaiki thinks that's not true. I feel like this is a big moment in a way because it's like if he was going with what his original plan was to have her remain as a god, he wouldn't say this, right? He wouldn't want to fight against the what she just said, right? Um, he wanted her to remain as a god. He wanted her. He thought it would be easier for her, essentially, that she would be happier that way, right? It would be so much easier for her to live her life not being genuine, because that's just the nicer path to take, right? It's much less struggle that way, you know. But his rejection of that, him saying that it's not true, is so meaningful because it shows that like he's viewing her he's viewing her in like a more respectable light in a sense, right? He has to go down the route, I guess. I guess he has no choice of the harder path for her to take, right? A path that perhaps for himself, it's so hard to think whether or not he views himself as taking that path or not. I guess in a way he is. It's just it's always like a process, I guess, right? The fact that he was willing to take this job for Shinjagahara and continue to try and help her in this way, despite the way he had to come up with his excuse for it, I think is evidence that he himself has always been aware of everything he says here, and he is trying to be like his genuine self despite everything else, you know? In the end, even now, even after becoming a god, just like before, just like back when you were human, your environment swings you around every which way. Just how they praise you as cute, cute, they now praise you like God, God. The problem again with what he's getting at now is I don't think she cares. I don't think she cares. Um, I think she loves having a role like this to play, right? I don't think she cares at all if what he's getting at is that the way she is now still isn't like a genuine, that anyone's viewing her as anything but a doll. Because being viewed as just a doll would be like perfect for her, right? Then no one is trying to like get at her in some genuine way, which is the feeling that she's trying to run away from, right? And that's right. That's why again, I don't think it gets to her at all. I don't think she cares. That's where some woman I knew was different. She refused an offer for God to save her. Cindergahara with the crab, of course, right, right. She rejected taking it easy and being happy, right? It's like this is the separation, I suppose, for Kaiki between a child and, as he calls Cindergahara here, a woman, right? Viewing her not as just a child in a sense, right? Although I do wonder if in Japanese that's actually the context behind it. I'm going to take it that way because I like it. Um, but calling her a woman rather than like a girl or a child, right? He recognizes that her rejection of the crab, her rejection of that kind of easy lifestyle in that way, the same thing he was trying to push onto Nautiko, right? Yeah, yeah. It's very meaningful, you know? She rejected taking it easy and being happy. I thought that staying that way would be better for her, just like he does with Nautiko, right? Yeah, yeah. But she persistently chose a way of life that didn't rely on gods. That's what she wished for. The outcome, the result of first contact, someone's or something's fault. She denied everything that put her at ease. And it's like that kind of putting her at ease, right? It's like that was part of Kaiki's goal too, right? It being someone's fault, right? It's so much easier to accept things if it's someone else's fault, you know. That's why he plays the villain in all of these people's stories, you know. Um Again, oh god, I don't know how to like combine that with the fact that Kaiki also likes to tell everyone that the person that they cared about or someone that like means something to them died in a car crash, right? Because like I don't know, because to me, when Kaiki says that Gantoe just died in a car crash, so it doesn't matter, right? That's what he thought in like episode 2 of this arc, when he was talking to Nautico about unrequited love. It feels like this way to like brush it aside and to try and say that the past doesn't matter in the same vein as like his whole no point in overcoming the past, blah blah blah, right? That oh, they just died in a car crash, it doesn't matter, whatever, right? That feels so against like what he's saying here, the idea that people need someone to blame for something, in order to just take the easy path and to just be happy like that. Because it's like if he told Nautiko that they all just died in a car crash, it feels like she would just end up the same as him in a way, right? But maybe that's part of the point. Maybe I'm just thinking of it the wrong way. I don't know. I don't know. That's hard for me to wrap my head around, right? Because he tries to play the villain in other people's stories, but he also tries to give them like this naturalistic explanation. This like random catastrophe happened, and ended this, right? Which I guess is in the same vein in terms of like it's easy to accept things in that way, right? Um, like what he said to Shinjagahara about the guy who assaulted her dying in a car crash, right? That just means it's like over, right? In a sense, right? So maybe that is in the same vein in terms of just giving someone an easily digestible, like oh, it's over now, right? Type of explanation, right? Because he doesn't believe that other people are capable of processing things. Like he didn't believe that Nautico would be able to actually come to terms with her feelings for Aragi and be able to like do all of this stuff, you know. So of course he was just going to tell her he just died in a car crash. It's over, right? Yeah, yeah. After all the thought I put into her, she repaid the kindness with resentment, which is so God. I just don't know what Kaiki feels about that though, you know? Aren't you and her totally different? And yeah, they sure are. They sure are different. I just that's not gonna work for Nautico, right? Yeah, though I don't know who you're talking about and with what feelings. But the reality is it's someone's fault, isn't it? Whether it's something right off the bat or something I stumbled upon. In my case, it's an absolute that it's Ogi's fault. It's Ogi's fault. Ogi. Oshino Ogi. What is up with her? Huh? I just there were so many angles I could think about this from, it being Ogi's fault. Um it just feels like we really I really need confirmation. I really need more about Ogi and more like some kind of confirmation, something that really makes me think that my view of her is correct before I really want to start rambling like a lunatic about all of this stuff. Because what if I'm completely wrong? I don't think I am. Okay, here's I guess here's the thing about that. I don't think I'm wrong, and I guess if I am wrong, I don't think that means what I'm saying is invalid. I guess I think no matter what, Ogi will actually end up like being, I guess, like in universe. I think the way I'm viewing her in some sense has to be able to be applied to her, right? Like I guess I'm viewing it like the same way as like Hachikuji, right? Where it's like I view Hachikuji as like this representation of like all of this the opposite of Aragi's like horrible mindset about things, basically, right? And it's like, and even if that is in never way explicitly stated, which I'm sure it never will be, right? Um, she you can certainly view her in that way and everything fits, right? I think the same can certainly be done with Ogi if you think back to the first time we saw her with the traffic light conversation, everything that happened after Hachikuji disappeared. I mean, it's like what she said, right? That her job is to punish liars and blah 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 blah. That she's just like the darkness. um so I want to analyze this in some way relating to my view of Ogi, which is that in some way she represents, I guess, essentially the opposite of Hachikuji, right? That in some way she represents all of these negative thoughts that Aragi has about like the rules and his system of right and wrong and like who he should be and all of this stuff. That in some sense it has to be relevant to all of this being Ogi's fault, right? Come to think of it, there's something I didn't understand. How did she know the location of the essence of God that Gun-senpai loaned, or rather entrusted with Aragi? Right, he kind of, yeah, all this stuff, yeah. Ogi was the one at fault for this whole situation that set her up to be a god. So I guess the question is there Ogi setting up the situation? I guess we talked about it before. Ogi setting up the situation for Nadeko to be a god. Is there a meaning to that beyond just it being some kind of crazy attempt to like kill Aragi or something? Like, could you say that Ogi being at fault here for Nadeko becoming a god is in some way representative of uh what, Ogi agreeing with Nadeko? Right? Whatever, like Ogi in terms of like her set of rules about stuff. If we want to say that it's similar to like if we want to say that what Ogi represents is this set of rules that Aragi from like Kizu would agree with. Uh would you say that in some way Nautico is like in line with that? That's why Ogi, she takes these actions to have Nautico be the god on the shrine and all of this stuff, right? Be like representative in some sense of her supporting like Nautico's mindset in that way. It's just we're going down such a rabbit hole. It's so hard to to think about stuff like this, right? I just I don't know. And the problem again, it's like it could just be complete nonsense, right? So I just feel like it's too early. I just feel like I shouldn't yet. Because I know we're obviously there's going to be more stuff about Ogi in the future, right? Like for sure. At some point, I will be able to more concretely say if I believe my view of Ogi is correct. And I guess I should just wait until then to try and analyze her actions more, even though I really want to. I feel like it might just be beyond me right now too. It's probably just too hard because it's like I'm trying to really fit this into this box of what I imagine Ogi to like represent, but it's just very difficult. so so I don't know. Because it's interesting too because like if we think about Ogi's actions in Hana, when they essentially helped Kanbaru with her issue of like running away from all the problems, basically, right? It's like, can you imagine that in some way being I guess from like what Ogi said about wanting to punish liars, right? That in some way Kumber was like lying by not facing her problems. But like the issue with that is like if Ogi's job is to punish liars, how does Nadeko fit into that, right? Because it's like Kaiki's saying Nadeko's a liar. I certainly understand that view of it. So like, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. I have to stop. I have to stop. I have to stop. I have to stop. So you're trying to deceive me too. Kaiki-san as well. Right, right. That means there was someone that tried to deceive Nadeko sometime somewhere. It's interesting he's thinking of it in this way, that he thinks of Ogi as being the one who deceived Nadeko at some point. I guess my view of it is that the same way that Nadeko called everyone a liar, she views everyone as like deceiving her, like through their thoughts and feelings, right? Um, she just has this such a negative view of like everyone, that I think like viewing other people's like the way that they perceive her as like deception in a sense makes sense to me. uh I don't know if it's specifically in reference to Ogi, like maybe maybe. I guess just the question would be how would Ogi have deceived her, right? Other than in like the sense of, she certainly led her down this path of becoming a god, which I think was a very negative one, but that's certainly not the context in which Naruto is saying that, right? So, the person who deceived Sengoku Naruto, instead of saying she was cute, encouraged her to become a god. Ogi. Very interesting. In the end, it doesn't matter. I can't do anything to resist myself. And that's kind of what it all is, right? Is that Naruto is so she can't resist herself, she can't resist other people, she can't resist the sway of just everything. She is unable to like have her own sense of being and like yeah, resist anything like that. It's like the emotional feedback she gets from other people, from like society, I guess, is just too much for her to overcome, right? Haragi really has nothing to do with my actions. That is an interesting thing to say. I feel like that's kind of wrong, in a sense. Calls for a penalty. I'll keep my promise. I'll wait for graduation. She's gonna kill a bunch of people. God, what do those ones say? And I'll slaughter. Wait. Or slaughter his 5 or so friends and family. Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Nautica. Thank you. Of course, again, it's not like she's a lunatic. She's not a maniac, right? It's just that she is currently fitting herself in the category of she's a god. She has to be a vengeful god right now because someone lied to her, so she has to go kill everyone, right? It shows how horrible and destructive her attitude about all of this is. You were a little bit late for Hachikuchi. Sorry, Nautica. Sengoku, you said that you didn't want to become a god, right? When did she say she didn't want to become a god? Am I crazy? When did she ever say that? Unless he's talking about, like, right now, in the past, like, 5 minutes, which I guess she's kind of said things in the vein of that. But I feel like in the conversations before, she certainly never said anything like that, right? And do you want to become a manga artist? God, okay. Her secret in the closet being this like very expressive creative form um is like literally the perfect thing, literally the most perfect thing it could be, right? Like, god, it's so perfect. Because like what is manga, right? It is god, it's just the most perfect thing for it to be, right? It is a expression of like everything about yourself, creating something like that, right? And it is so embarrassing to show to other people, right? Which is like the exact feeling that Nautiko that affects her so much, right? um it's literally the perfect thing, right? Not only that, but it's like the point of like manga or story writing, anything like that, like what the author is doing here, like with Monogatari, right? I can't help but read so much of what Kaiki says almost as if the author themselves speaking, right, about the creative process, all of this. The point of all of it is to share it with other people, right? There's the sense of fulfillment, the meaning you get out of creation like that is other people experiencing it. Um, which is the exact thing that Nautico has been running away from for so long, right? So it's so perfect. And not only that, but it's just I feel like that is the kind of thing that everyone in some way needs to like feel like their life is like meaningful, right? Like it feels silly. It feels silly to compare, but these videos themselves, it's like it's kind of in the same vein, right? Where it's like these videos that I make are like embarrassing in a way. I wouldn't want to show my YouTube channel and my videos to like everyone in my entire life. I think, that would be like kind of embarrassing, right? In a sense, you know what I mean? Um for Nautico, I think it's much more extreme than that in a way, right? Because even these videos, it's not there's less aspects to it in terms of like story writing and all of these things that are so that are so revealing about Nadeko as a person, in terms of her like writing manga and all of this stuff, But it all comes down to having other people experience like things that you think and feel and create and all of this stuff, That's where like any kind of real like meaning in life is, in my mind, right? Oh man, and he finally gets to her. He finally gets to her. God, it's so perfect. It's so perfect. And that's what's been in there the whole time. That's what's been in there the whole time. It's always been this part of herself. And it's something that she's never destroyed, right? It's something that shows like I wonder what she herself was thinking as she was like writing it all, right? As she was drawing all of this. And she has so many sketchbooks. She's been doing it for so long. So it's always been this part of herself that I wonder how she rationalizes in her head, right? Um because like she has always wanted to reject like who she is even to herself, right? That it's so interesting that she has continued drawing and making manga like this um all this time, it's so meaningful because it shows that even someone like her who is so closed off from everyone and is such an extreme, right? I certainly hope that no one like watching this is quite as bad as her in terms of all of this, right? Um, that even she has these genuine parts of herself that she can't like run away from and hide. You know what I mean? Hmm. At the same time, it's like it's so interesting that Kaiki thought of the manga initially as what was inside of the closet is just being something irrelevant, something that didn't matter at all, right? It's so interesting because it's like maybe it goes to the same vein of what I was saying before, where it's like he himself understands that the pursuit of that kind of thing is very important and you can find meaning in it. He just had this low opinion of Nautiko. He just viewed her as a child. He viewed her as essentially um as not being able to pursue that in a way, right? Is that she would be happier if he just took the easier road of just being a god, right? And I guess that's why he viewed it as like a dead end, right? Twisting the lock open with a 10 yen coin. Money really is a valuable thing. Said that nobody should open that door. I didn't even want Kiyomiya Nichan to see. Right, because it's just the door is just like essentially to me just an analogy for Nautiko herself, right? Yeah, yeah. Just what she's had hidden away the whole time. God, I wanna look at it. It actually looks so good. It's crazy. Very nice, very cute. I mean, that's like this is just Skihi, right? This is just Nautico. Um, God, who else do we have? Is that not? That's probably yeah, that's Nautico, I guess, with the hair. I don't know who this would be. Someone. That looks like a Nautico. Just some cute guys, I guess. That's what she's drawing. What else do we got? What else do we got? Oh god, it actually looks so fucking good. It's crazy. That's crazy, right? Insane, insane. I wish I could read Japanese. I wish I knew what any of this said. Man, how many guys are there? Jesus Christ. Oh god, what's happening up there? Very nice, very cute, very good. Very good, very good. He gives her some feedback, right? It's so he starts giving her the kind of creative feedback that I think that she needs to hear, right? It's almost like he's doing it, right? These are the types of things that she's been running away from, right? She's been running away from someone saying these types of things that Kaiki is saying to her right now, right? Um, and like, of course, her immediate reaction is, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you and then myself," right? She literally just like can't do it, right? Like she's gonna die. It's so relatable. Like imagine if you were making a bunch of manga like Nautica was, right? And you showed it to someone, right? It's that feeling, right? It's like the I can imagine it so much. Like the feeling in your stomach of someone like reacting to and like critiquing in some way, the way they digest it and understand it, It would just be so Oh, it'd be so hard to do, right? It'd be so hard to do, right? Again, it's like I just can't help but relate it to like these videos. It's like if I showed one of these videos to like a very close friend of mine who doesn't know about my channel, and it's like, and they really told me what they think about like my process and everything I'm saying and stuff. It's very hard. It's very hard to accept that kind of like um deep look at like this creative process that you're undergoing, if you want to call these videos a creative process that I make. Like I don't know if it qualifies as that, maybe, um from like another person. It's so god, right? And it's like that's it's weird. It's weird in a way that I feel like everyone is always going to, at least for me personally, maybe it's not everyone, I don't know, maybe I'm just like Nautico. Um, but for me personally, at least, and Nautico, the way that other people experience these things that you have created is always going to be so much more important to you than the way that you yourself view them, right? Like, Nautico wasn't losing her mind and wanting to kill herself when she herself was reading the manga, right? She probably had her own thoughts about it. She probably had her own, like, she certainly says some very negative things about it in a moment, but it's important that that's after everything that Kaiki says about it, right? It's so interesting that no matter what, um, it's like the perception that other people have of these kinds of things is the truly important part of it, right? Because it's like these kinds of things are always made with the idea of another person viewing it and understanding it in mind, right? It's just an abstraction of like a human connection and like you expressing your thoughts in some way, right? Any kind of creative work like that is. And the plot was pretty perverted. God, the character reference guide was pretty thick and overwhelming. This is the part where it's like I imagine it feels like the author themselves is almost like saying these things like about their own work in a way, right? Brighten them up a bit and they're suit everyone better. Really, he gives her like good advice, right? He gives her good advice. It's so hard for her to it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so relatable. It's actually so like, oh my god, like I am Nautico in real life. Like it's actually crazy. It's actually crazy. Kill, huh? So you finally give me the time of day. It's useless to kill me. You never really thought about it. Even the parents that are just doting on you will open that closet someday if you continue to be missing. But if you stop being a god now, become a human, and go back to your room, you can destroy them all with your own hands with no issues, right? What's interesting about this, I guess, is like the problem. Not only would she have to stop being a god, but she would have to go back to her room and open her closet and actually like think about it in a way, right? I guess I imagine that she even though she herself, of course, is the one drawing all of this manga and everything, I just imagine that the only way she can do that, living the way that she does, is she has to like really compartmentalize it and really like push it to the back of her mind, right? It's like this: if she stops being a god, if she stops being the way Nautico's always been, then yeah, then she would be able to go back and destroy them, right? But the thing is, if she stopped being a god in that sense, then she wouldn't want to destroy them. You know what I mean? Because then, in a sense, it's like not being a god anymore would be part of accepting herself in that way and these genuine parts of herself. You know what I mean? Someone else seeing them is so embarrassing. Yeah, exactly, right? It's like shouldn't you want to destroy them if it's so embarrassing that you can't do it, right? But like she herself knows that she doesn't want to destroy them. That's why she's kept them for so long. But it's not foolish. It's not foolish at all, right? It's like the most meaningful thing you could have in my mind, right? Like, oh God, if she would share it with other people, like what kind of reason would it take to stop for you to stop being a god? Exactly. If that's not gonna do it. No matter who I talk to Sindrugahara, to Hanakawa, even talk to your parents. None of them knew that you had a hobby of that sort. Yeah, she's hidden it from everyone for so long. You obstinately hid those embarrassing creations from everyone. Not just the manga, right? But anything about herself, right? In other words, you did that because you consider it to be your true dream. Your real wish isn't something you tell others, not even to a god. So we're back to talking about wishes and dreams, which it's such an interesting take that Kaiki has on it, right? That the idea that your true desires are something that It's not even just that it's something you don't tell to other people, that it's basically impossible for you to tell to other people, that as he said, it's like the moment you externalize it, the moment you put it into words, it has changed irrevocably, you know? Which again, it's like I feel like I understand that. You must be happy now that you're a god. You must be having fun, but that's not our wish, right? But that's not our wish, you know. There are so many things in life that are like this, you know. Um, it's like the only reason why Nadeko has been acting the way she has for the whole time that we've seen her in the story is because it is the easier path to take. That in a way she is happier this way, because it prevents her from having to actually confront these difficult like feelings that she doesn't want to experience, right? But yeah, but she never wanted to be a god, right? She was forced it to be a god. You know what I mean? Not like literally like a like in universe a god on the shrine, but I mean like in terms of her like separating herself from her humanity, separating herself from like Nautico, right? Um yeah, she was forced to be that way in a sense, right? Just by chasing this like this happiness rather than chasing what she really wants to be, you know, which I believe in the long run would lead to happiness, right? I think that's an interesting thing about Kaiki's like lesson that he teaches her here is like in the long run, I think it will lead you to happiness. I guess it's like the point is you can't trust happiness alone in a sense because that could lead you to being like Nautico, right? If you just take like the easy path, right? You're so bored you engross yourself in Cat's Cradle while waiting a mere 6 months. After you kill Aragi and the others, what the hell are you going to do? I'm really right. Yeah, yeah. It's like she not only like to me that's a representative of like how for her entire life if she continues living her life this way. If she continues living her life as a god, she is never going to have any meaningful connection ever, right? She's always going to be bored. She's never going to have anything, you know. It's clear through her pursuing like this creative process of drawing manga like this that is something that she wants, that's something she desires. I think that's something everyone wants, you know, is like these meaningful connections to others, right? This kind of understanding, you know. But as a god, she'll never have that. You know, yeah, she'll be bored forever. She'll be a gatekeeper who will watch things rot away. Yeah, yeah. You drew an unlucky lot. It's not like you wanted to become a god, not like you wanted to become happy. You wanted to become a manga artist, right? Then why don't you become one? Exactly, right? Why doesn't she? Why doesn't she? And she doesn't really answer that question, other than just saying, like, it's just a bunch of nonsense that I don't care about, you know? Of course, she immediately wants to start distancing herself from it, right? That's her immediate reaction to what Kaiki, you know, Kaiki gave her all of this genuine feedback about it, in a way. And of course, it's like, it's so much easier. She's taking the easy path right now, right? It's like her becoming a god. She's taking the easy path, which is just to reject all of it and say, oh, it's just a bunch of nonsense. I didn't care about any of it. You know, I wasn't actually trying. It's like, you know, it's so easy to do that, you know? I didn't want people to see those unskillful, embarrassing drawings. My dream, don't tell me such foolish things. They're all trash. I wanted to throw them out, but I was too embarrassed. Of course, that's the reason I hid them there. I just. No, it's because it means something to you. It's because it means something to you. Don't talk about what you created like that. Yeah, yeah. Creation is an embarrassing process, and dreams are embarrassing as well. It really is. It really is, right? It is embarrassing to tell someone even what you truly desire in life, right? Like for sure, you know? You can't help that. That's something very common. Exactly, right? Exactly. And it's something that feels so meaningful for Kaiki too as a character, you know. Um, God, I love Kaiki so much. It's so interesting how Kaiki feels like such a tragic character after everything that like Ononoki said about him in the last episode, where he really feels like so self-sacrificial in a way. It's another similarity to Araragi, I think, where it really feels like he puts his own wishes, his own dreams, whatever he truly desires, below other people in a sense, right? Where in playing the villain for other people, it's like whatever his true wish is, his true desire, it's he pushes it to the side in a way, right? But at least it's not something that you should belittle yourself over. They were pretty good. Maybe you have the thing called talent. Yeah, I mean, and if you don't, even if you didn't have talent, that's always something you can work on, right? I mean, anyone can do anything. Come on. Besides, I can't become one just by thinking I can be one, right? But if you don't think about becoming one, you'll never become one. Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? That's the first step, is that you yourself have to, like, start taking what you want seriously, you know? Like, you'll never know otherwise, right? Unlike becoming a god or a happy person. Yeah. Besides, that's something you can't become if you're a god. You have to be human. Yeah, you have to be human. You have to be willing to open yourself up if you want to, pursue this kind of thing that's truly going to make you happy, in my mind, right? Yeah, like, hmm. God, it just feels so meaningful. It feels so meaningful coming from, like, the person who wrote this, you know? It really makes me imagine, like, the author writing this and what it must mean to them through their process of, like, writing this story, you know? It feels so meaningful, you know? I like money. I'll tell you why. It's because money can take the place of everything, right? It's like my perception of money from Kaiki this whole time has always been like it is this it is a thing that he can, I guess, as he says here, it's like he can replace, like, emotions almost with money, right? Yeah, you can buy anything, you know? It is a, like, real representation of those things in a sense, you know? You can buy people, you can buy hearts, you can buy happiness, right? The 298 yen. Ah, the love is sold out. The love got discounted, though. It's only 284 yen. That's crazy. That's crazy. I guess no one was buying it at 298 yen, huh? You can buy happiness, you can buy dreams. Oh, you can buy dreams. You own a lottery ticket, right? That's what people say about the lottery. Isn't that what Skihi said? Isn't that what Skihi said about lottery tickets? That it's like you're buying a dream in a way, you know? And Skihi said that you should buy reality, right? Very interesting. Very interesting. In that sense, it really is. It's like it puts Skihi and Kaiki on opposing sides in a way, which I think makes sense the more I think about that. That is very interesting. That is very interesting. It's very precious, but on top of that, it's not something that is irreplaceable. That's why I like it. He hates irreplaceable things, which I think makes a lot of sense, because if we think about Kaiki and the way he is, the things he said about the past, right? Um, Kaiki, in my mind, has lost something that he viewed as irreplaceable, which was Gantoe, right? And through that process, through coping with that, I suppose he's decided that nothing can be irreplaceable, right? That if something is irreplaceable to you, or I guess it's just the idea that nothing is irreplaceable, period, you know? That of course, having lost Gantoe, it's not the end of his life, right? It's like he's still alive, he can still live. It's like, what does he say at the end, right? If as long as you keep living, maybe something good will happen, you know? Of course, right? Again, it feels so bittersweet coming from Kaiki, because it feels so much like he's such a bitter person, and it feels like it all comes back to that, right? Which is why I guess it's just the idea is that it's always a process, you know, you'll never perfectly embody everything that Kaiki says here. I imagine that's impossible, you know, that it's impossible to be the kind of person that Kaiki imagines is like the best way to live your life, you know. Scarcity value pisses me off to no end. Yeah, yeah. Would you become worthless if Araragi dumped you? No, absolutely not, right? Some idiot out there is volunteering to do something as sluggish as dating Araragi for you. And again, every time he says something like this, I just can't help but think it's like, is this essentially what he's telling himself about, like, what happened with Gantoe and Converu's dad, right? And it's like, if this is the way he coped with that, however that went down exactly, that's interesting because it's so clear that it did affect him, right? If it's true that the reason he's this bitter is because of all of that happening that way. But at the same time, it's like he's aware of that, right? It's like he thinks of it in this way, right? But I guess it's just the idea is of course he's not perfect, you know, he's not perfect. It's still gonna affect him. Even if he wants to say nothing is irreplaceable, those things still will affect you. There are still things that will, like, irrevocably affect you, you know? And maybe that's not always a negative thing, right? Like, of course, you know? So you can put an end to something that's sluggish and do some other sluggish thing. I don't really understand exactly the meaning behind, like, the adjective sluggish here. I don't really know what he means by that exactly, right? Because he does all this stuff with, like, the slug oddity too to her. He says that she has the lifestyle of a slug, which I just can't help but feel like there has to be some kind of Japanese specific, like, meaning conveyed through that I just wonder if I'm just not picking up on, unfortunately. You have all sorts of other things you want to try or to do, right? Hmm. Something I want to try, something I want to do. Exactly, right? Come on. Okay, no. And what I love about this is this brings us all the way back. This brings us all the way back to Otori. This brings us all the way back to when Kuchinawa, right, said to her that he could grant any wish that she had, right? And she was like, "Oh, what's my true wish? What do I really want?" You know, I think she said like this exact thing, something I want, you know. And she said in quotes like, "Oh, you know, Araragi returning my love or whatever," you know. It brings us full circle back to that moment, you know. But of course, it's like, yeah, she does have something she truly wants, and she's not going to reject it for what she imagines Nadeko should want, you know. For you, is everything in this world outside of Araragi so worthless that you didn't care at all? And again, it feels so much like he's talking about himself, too, right now, right? Hmm. In your priorities list was everything other than Araragi all trash? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, right? It's no matter what you lose, no matter what happens in your life, it's like there's you can always keep going, right? What would you know, Kaiki? I think he knows a lot. I think he understands this problem very deeply, honestly, right? Like, of course, of course. You don't know anything about me. I did all sorts of research, but that's right, I don't know anything. I know nothing important because only you know about you. And again, I feel like I could have an issue with this perspective in a sense, right? I but it just depends in what way Kaiki means it. Because I guess I agree. I agree in the sense of only you know what you truly want, and it is your job if you want to be happy in a sense, if you want to be truly happy, I guess. If you want to like find fulfillment in life, I suppose, only you can actually like externalize that and do what you want with your life, right? No one else can like give that to you, right? That's impossible, you know. And a society and other people in your life might fight you every step of the way. In fact, they with the way the world is now, with like this with social media ruining everything, people will fight you against like being genuine and pursuing things that you want, right? It sounds like stupid to say that, but it's just I just think it's the truth, right? And yeah, and it's like it's you have to be strong enough, you have to be willing to pursue what you really want, right? So whether you're the only person who can take care of you, yeah, yeah, and you are the only one who can grant your dream. In a sense, it's like you can almost take a negative connotation from it in the sense of like of course Kaiki is embittered towards like relationships with others after what happened with Gantoe. But I think there certainly is just an underlying truth to what he's saying that I think is unobjectionable, which is just like no matter how close you are with another person, it's impossible for them to truly understand you the way you understand yourself, right? You always have to like be thinking of yourself and be willing to, like yeah, it just it makes sense. It makes sense. Are humans allowed to randomly swap around like that? Like, since that's bad, let's go with this. Absolutely, of course, of course. But it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, right? It's like Kaiki as a character is so representative of how hard that is to do, right? That it feels like he is a character who lost stuff that meant so much to him, and his whole life since then has just been a struggle to like pick himself back up, I suppose, right? You can because you're human. Nothing is irreplaceable. There's nothing that can't be substituted. I know well, always treats her current romance as if it's her first. She always looks like she's never fallen in love with someone before. And that's the right way to go. That's how it should be. And this is the part where it's like you can maybe this is a good thing to aspire to. And maybe Kaiki understands that well, right? That this is always something you can only aspire to. I just don't think it's possible to like live up to this perfectly, right? But that certainly maybe that's just a moot point though. Maybe that just doesn't matter, right? Of course it's impossible to be a perfect person, obviously, right? But even Shinjogahara isn't perfect, right? Of course she's affected by things that happened to her in her past, you know. Of course she is, you know. Everyone is. It's impossible to have the past not affect you at all, you know. There's no peerless person, there's nothing irreplaceable, because humans as humans can redo something as much as they want, repurchase anything as much as they want. God, it's so good. Oh my god, it's so good. Use the money I gave you to go buy professional art tools or something. God, that like makes me want to cry. Like that is so. Oh my god, that is so perfect. That is just so good. I just don't even like. Oh God. I never really thought about becoming a manga artist, not even once. Oh, shut up. It's true that I didn't want to become one when I became one, but I think it would be a waste to toss aside becoming a god since I had the fortune of becoming one, right? It's like this idea that she can't chase what she truly wants because it's like the situation she's in now is like what to she had the fortune of coming across it, you know? But it's like who cares? Who cares, right? Who cares what you have now if it's not what you want, you know? There are people who would call gods of manga, right? Absolutely, absolutely. If I feel it's a waste, I can become one of those. Sure, right? Aspire for it. Yeah, there's something to aspire towards. Pretend that you were deceived and try it out as a challenge. I'll let you deceive me. God, it's so. Oh my God, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. It's so perfect. It's so good. I just wonder. I wonder what Nautica is going to be like now. I wonder. Of course, it's going to be a process. Obviously, it's going to be a process, right? It's going to be a process. I wonder if, just like Hanakawa, we aren't going to see Nadeko for 50 episodes after this. Like, maybe, right? But either way, it's so good. It's so good. Because it's going to be a process for her, too, right? I don't imagine in any way that it's going to be so easy for Nadeko to do everything that Kaiki said, you know? Hmm. That said, although the plan didn't quite work out as expected, no kidding, I accomplished the task given to me by Senjo Gahara Hitagi. Absolutely. And Araragi shows up. Oh, god damn it. um, what I love about this scene with Araragi showing up is it feels I love seeing Aragi through the eyes of another narrator because, like, through Hanakawa's eyes, he showed up as like this. He was this perfect heroic figure who showed up to save her. You know, this way that Hanakawa viewed her. Through Kampuru's eyes, it's like we saw Aragi as, this very reliable person, her senpai, right, her upperclassman. Who gave her this amazing advice about everything. And it's like the context in which Kana took place after everything else makes a lot of sense. He could really fulfill that role. Through Kaiki's eyes, what I think he does have a very negative view of Aragi, right? Kaiki is someone who feels so mature and so grown up compared to him. Aragi just feels like a loser, right? Like look at him, God, Kaiki's so much cooler than him. Jeez. God, and Kaiki immediately starts lying. Only kind of though, because like saying he was asked by Guy Senpai is funny because in a sense he kind of is fulfilling, I believe, what Guy wanted him to do, right? I was exercising this girl just now. This job wasn't one for a con artist, but for a ghostbuster. Absolutely. What in the world did you do to Sengoku? The same thing I did to your little sister. So, yeah. Not a bee. For Sengoku Nadeko, it was a slug. Slug tofu. I wish I understood like the context behind this. I just don't really know what that means. I don't know how we relate slugs to Nautico, right? I just don't really know. I just don't really know, unfortunately. It has to be some kind of Japanese like thing behind it, I assume, right? Unless there's I don't know, the slippery lifestyle of a slug. I just have no idea what that means, right? I don't know. I don't know what it means to be a slug. I really don't. I really don't. Wait, Kaiki, what did you say to Sengoku? I said the obvious. I told her the obvious. Romance isn't everything. There's fun in life. Don't throw your future away. Everyone has had embarrassing adolescences. After a while, everything will be a good memory. Stuff like that. Obvious things that adults tell children. So if asked what I did, I answer I only did the obvious. What a good way to put it, right? And again, it's like just the eternal Kaiki question of like it's just so hard to know if Kaiki himself had any personal revelation through this experience, right? It's so hard. Like all of this feels so meaningful in context with like what he says to Kambaru and Hana, right? It feels so in line with that whole thing about no person being truly good or truly evil, right? Everyone being different depending on the angle you view them from, right? Um, um, and it's like I guess the question is because Hana's in the future compared to this, right? Is that does that represent a change in his mindset through the experiences that he had throughout this arc, or he calls it the obvious here, is it something that he's always understood in some way, right? It's just it's I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's no clear answer to it. I feel like either way people might have strong opinions one way or the other. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure, right? Shut up and stay back, Araragi. Know your place. There's absolutely nothing you can do for Sengoku. So to talk about Araragi for a sec, the way that Kaiki handles this, the things that he says to Araragi, I think is going to be very difficult for Araragi to come to terms with, right? Like, think about this arc from Aragi's perspective, right? He failed to with this talisman, right? It's like in his mind, every like what he said to Nautiko before she ate the talisman is all this stuff like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't notice. I should have been able to, standard Aragi-isms, right? About him thinking himself responsible for all these kinds of things. Um and it's like the situation ends up getting resolved through no part of his own after he tried endlessly like every day coming here to try and see Nautiko and get through to her, and she just kept like murdering him, right? And then Kaiki just says, oh, there's nothing you ever could have done, it was impossible, you need to have no part in her life forever, right? Which I just that is the one thing that Kaiki says that I just don't know how I feel about it. It feels like such a it feels like it has to be so meaningful between like Kaiki and whatever his relationship was with like Gantoe, right? Because again, it's like Araragi is to Nautiko in a sense like what Gantoe was to Kaiki in a way, right? So him telling Araragi to have no part in Nautiko's life from this point on, it makes you imagine like is that what he wishes happened between him and Gantoe in a sense? You know what I mean? In what way does that relate to Kaiki and the way that he relates to Nautiko in terms of this whole unrequited love thing? God, I just don't know, right? But again, but back to Aragi, it's like he is really going to take this badly, right? It's just this is another thing piling up for Aragi of just endless failures, right? It's just everything has been going so horribly wrong for Aragi for so long now. Um, and it's not good. Not good, right? Not good. He gives him the talisman back. Don't make a mistake next time you choose to use this on someone. I won't use it. I'll never use something like this. So it's obvious at this point that the talisman represents something very important, right? The talisman in some way is representative of something. I at this point I'm imagining that the position of being the god is in and of itself in some way important, like thematically, right? I want to say that whoever the god on the shrine is in some way representative of like something about Aragi and like the way he's viewing the world, something like that, right? It's too early to say, I suppose. But like this line certainly gives off that vibe to me, right? That the talisman represents obviously more than just being the talisman, right? Shouldn't be in this town in the first place. His job is done. Yeah, his job is done. Got quite a bit of money, absolutely. And it's like that's what I mean, right? Is he still thinks about money in this way, right? It's like Kaiki is obviously still not a perfect person, right? It's like everything that he told Nautiko, if that is things that he himself has always been aspiring to view the world as through his own actions, um, obviously Kaiki's it's a work in progress for him too, right? In that sense, it's like obviously Nautiko, she won't be perfect either, right? Of course. You don't have to worry about the after effects. And after that, make sure you have no part in that girl's life to the day you die. Yeah, yeah. Hurry up and become a memory in her mind. I can't do something so irresponsible. It's my fault that Sengoku ended up this way. I have to take responsibility. Right, and it's like this, like what he's saying here is Aragi's like always wanting to take responsibility for everything, except impossible, like nonsense responsibility onto himself for everything in his life and everything, right? He views this as his fault, so he has to be the one to like solve it, right? Um, and Kaiki's response, don't you get it? His God, that line is delivered in such a great way. There's nothing you can do for that girl. If you're around, that girl will just be useless. And again, like in my mind, when Kaiki is saying this, it's almost like he's taking from his own experience with himself, right? In like Gaintoe, I imagine, If you're around, that girl will just be useless. Romance can strengthen people, but it can also make them useless. Because you were with her, Senjougahara was able to strengthen herself a bit, but Sengoku Nadeko would just be useless if you're with her. I don't know. I don't know. Senjougahara became useless because she was with me. You came in and strengthened her. So this time I was the right guy for the situation, you could say. He sure was. I really do imagine if any of the other specialists could have solved this one, you know? I wonder, I wonder. Because Kaiki just had such an obvious personal connection to it in a way, right? Would Sengoku become happy if I wasn't around? That is such an interesting thing for Aragi to say. It really makes you wonder about like what Aragi's mindset is like at this point. Because again, we've had such a gap for Aragi. This is, in a sense, this is like really the first time we're seeing Aragi in 6 months' time, almost, right? Um, we saw him a couple times in Otori, which was in like October, November, right? But really, the last time we've really gotten an update on like Aragi's mental process about things was in like August, right? So it feels very telling that Aragi asks this question: would she become happy if I wasn't around? It shows that even this late into the story, that even in February now, that he is still in such a bad mental place. I think, right? You can't really blame him, of course, right? And it's like, and of course, his mind goes to wanting to separate himself from other people. It's a very dark thing for him to say, right? As a person who was previously suicidal, right? Wanting to separate himself from everyone as much as possible, you know? She seemed very happy until moments ago, but then becoming happy isn't the primary objective of human life. Yeah. Doesn't matter if she's happy or not, as long as she can become what she wants to be. In any case, if she keeps on living, maybe something good will happen in due time. And he calls Senjougahara. His last phone call with her. And still at the end, he still thanks him, right? It's very interesting because it's for once he didn't fail, right? Like when Ononoki said that when he does things unlike himself, when he does things that in a way that he wants to help other people, that he always fails, right? That and it's not failure in the outcome, but it's failure in the way that other people perceive him, I suppose you could say, right? And in this case, it's not like that, I suppose, right? She thanked him, you know, thank you very much, you saved me. That's what she said again. Yeah, this is goodbye. I'm done with you now. It's the end. Hmm. And I got all this stuff about like her deceiving him about being in love with him. Right, maybe, right? That makes sense, right? To like keep him around, I guess, right? Because she thought he was gonna truly help her with the situation, I suppose. God, and that she's the one who wrote the letter. Of course, that makes so much sense. I should have thought of that, right? I guess I don't know. I didn't. It makes sense, I guess, right? I guess it makes sense that of course she doubted him. Of course that she would be. Yeah, yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. It's the same reason that Guy Nezuko, the same reason Guy Nezuko was thinking and did the same thing, right? Yeah, that she knows him very well. We got all these shots of trees, of like dead snow-covered trees like this, right? Which is very interesting. Because it's like, as we know, Kaiki's name means like dead tree, right? Similar to Aragi in that sense, or like the tree in Aragi's name. It's very interesting. He crushes the SIM card. It feels like this final like disconnect between him and Shinjigahara, right? It's like the name of the arc, Hitagi end, right? It's like he's done. He did it, I guess, you know? Shinjigahara aside, how calculating was Gain Senpai in all of this? A good question, right? A good question. What is Gain? We have two actors at play here who are doing a bunch of shit that we just don't know anything about, which is the guy Nezuko and Oshino, and it's just all man. It just feels like this great conspiracy between them, you know. It certainly feels like they're on opposing ends of it for sure, right? Of course. What the hell is Oshino doing now of all times, right? Where is he, right? Where is Oshino? A very good question. A very good question. And then Kaiki gets attacked. So the important thing about this, of course, we know Kaiki isn't dead because of Hana, right? Um, at the same time, it is interesting that I don't know, that this happens. He certainly talks like he's dead, right? Um, we know he's not, right? It's almost like a convenient exit from the story for him in a way. I guess it goes back to like what he said at the start, about like things in the story being lies or whatever. Um, I guess at this point, I feel like I view Kaiki in a way where I don't think he's lying at all. I don't think anything in the story was a lie, other than this, I guess, right? Although it's like I don't think that this is made up. I think he really was attacked by this kid, you know. Um, but it's interesting how it's like his exit from the story, right? It's like his official proper exit from the story in a way, right? It's like he finished his business with Senjougahara. He finished all of this stuff, and it's like this is it, It's like a very convenient exit for him, I suppose. It's like Oki-san said. So this is the kid from all the way back in Naruto Snake, that the snake that Araragi let escape, or let escape, right, in quotes, that it went back to, right? Yeah, yeah. Which is crazy. And in some way, Ogi manipulated this kid, said something about it, said that Kaiki was in town. So this is yet another thing that Ogi is doing, which is killing Kaiki, by proxy, I guess. Which is interesting. Think about it. Think about it from her perspective, right? Ogi said that she wants to punish liars, that she wants to punish, yeah, that she destroy the. I don't remember her exact wording, right? Um, Makes a lot of sense. Makes sense that she would target Kaiki, perhaps. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. The root of all evil, the junior high kid who enchants Sengoku with a charm. Yeah, yeah. The Shadower, I suppose. I thought it could perhaps have been Senjougahara or Gain's observer. But if this was the outcome that Gain had hoped for, there would be no meaning to this. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. A judge with a bloodied head. And well, I mean, rest in peace, Kaiki. But like, we know he's not dead. Of course, I mean, all this does really is just like it's just this heightening like placement of Ogi in the story in a way, right? It's like this. We finally had. What's interesting is we finally had two characters talk about Ogi with each other for the first time. And then one of them dies immediately after, right? That's very interesting. It's very interesting that Ogi has like this role in the story where she's just this shadowy figure working in the background that all these characters know about, like individually, but no one's discussing it openly. It's so interesting. I don't really know what to make of it yet, but I'm sure as Ogi develops, we'll have more to say about it. It was a name that I felt I had heard somewhere before, but I could no longer think anymore. They say money talks even in hell. Since they don't have money saved up, I felt really glad that from the bottom of my heart, he gained some money at the very end, right? Yeah, I was able to earn a bit of pocket change at the very end. And that is the end of Hitagi End. A good arc, a very good arc. Again, it's like I mean, I guess that's the end of me actually talking about the episode. I'm going to ramble about some nonsense for a moment. It's like I feel like this with these videos, especially Monogatari, frankly. I feel like this pressure in a way to like analyze everything like completely perfectly, just because like I feel like the reception I've gotten on like I guess the channel at large, but Monogatari specifically has been like very positive. People really enjoy like my analysis, a lot of stuff. So I feel like this pressure to try and like always I do perfectly, even though that's impossible. It's not like there's such thing as perfect media analysis. I don't know, right? It's all just my takes on these kinds of things, right? It's really it just says something about the author having done such an amazing job writing the story in this way that it could be that it's this deep, that there's this much meaning behind it, right? um so it's this arc in a sense was almost frustrating to me. Just in my head, it didn't really hurt like my actual viewing experience of it, more so just like in the discussions in a way. It was almost frustrating to me. It's certainly the intention of the author is to make you have so many questions about this arc and so many questions about Kaiki as a character. It feels like there's so many ways you can interpret so many things about it, and that is entirely the point of Kaiki, right? It goes back to so many things Kaiki has said that everyone is such a different person based on the angle you view them from. That is more true for Kaiki than any other character. So I feel this pressure. It's a silly thing to feel in the first place, but I feel this pressure to like really to lock in as much as possible and analyze everything like perfectly, which is impossible. Um, and this arc, it's just impossible, right? I can't fall back on any kind of like objective analysis. Again, not that that really exists. Because all of it feels so just vibes based, I guess, in this arc, right? It's like we have all these questions about Kaiki as a character and all of these things that are so unclear about him. And I think that's just that's what makes this arc so cool, though, right? And on the surface, in terms of like surface level, just like the message of this arc and everything, it's very good, right? I really enjoy everything about this arc. I love this arc. Um, it just in terms of like really trying to view like things in like a meta sense, like I've tried to before, just because the story like lends itself to that kind of analysis so well. Um, it felt like it was, like, impossible in this arc, right? It just feels so everything is just so, like there's so many different ways you can look at everything, which is perfect for the arc and for the narrator of the arc and everything that he represents, right? So, I mean, great job to the author, right? It certainly worked perfectly, you know? I just have these stupid, like, insecurity about it, this idea that people will be, like, disappointed that I don't have secretly all the answers for everything, right? When it's like I just that's the point. It's impossible. You don't know what the answers are. There's no way, right? Not again, not that there are answers for media analysis in the first place, right? It's like even with like the idea of like death of the author in the first place, like even the author, there are things in their works that they themselves don't like understand in a sense, right? Um, that they don't connect the dots between things that perhaps in their subconscious are there for a reason that they themselves haven't thought through. You know what I mean? And I feel like this arc like embodies that like perfectly. Really good arc, amazing arc. I cannot believe we're like done with second season now. Crazy. We are we're getting there, I guess. How many episodes do we have left? How much do we have left? I don't have the entire series downloaded because it just takes up so much like disk space that I don't know how many arcs we have left. I guess I don't want to read all the arc names. That'd probably be like spoilers, right? I just kind of download them one at a time. I know the next one is Monogatari, right? Which I am hype for, I suppose. Why not? I don't know. I didn't even read like the name of the actual like arc name. I just know it's Monogatari, which ski means moon, right? Part of Skihi's name. I assume it means. I wonder if skimono means anything. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I guess that's it. If you stuck around for that rambling at the end, thank you. Thank you very much. Amazing arc. I love Kaiki. Very good character. Probably the most interesting narrator we've had so far in terms of just like their style of like narration, right? I don't mean like most interesting as like as a character. I just mean in terms of like being a narrator, right? Unless I mean it's maybe it's Araragi, just because whenever it's an Araragi arc, there's always a bunch of crazy shit, which is very fun to dissect. But I really enjoyed Kaiki. This made me love Kaiki so much. Anyway, finally, I guess that's it. We're done rambling. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next